Now, I know this might seem like it's a little bit late in the year to be posting, but I've just got around to filming this video, and so, better late than never, as they say. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content as well as movie reviews here on this channel every week. All of my movie reviews are spoiler free and I will leave a playlist of my recent reviews linked up above. But if any of the movies I'm talking about here I have made reviews of, I will try and link them. But obviously we're going to be talking about 20 movies and I have reviewed, I think, most of these. So I'm not going to be able to link them all, but I will try my best to link the ones I'm talking about. So what we're going to do is we're going to do my top 10 first of all, and then we'll move on to my bottom 10 at the end of the video, and these are in no particular order, but I will leave the timestamp in the description box if you're just looking for my least favorite movies of 2025. I'll leave the timestamp to the worst 10 in my opinion. These are fully my opinion, and as I say, I've reviewed most of these, so you will probably have no surprises coming up here. So first of all, like I say, no particular order. I literally went through my watch history and went, yes, love that, love that, love that, or no, hated that, hated that, hated that. So firstly, we have Christy, which was a Sydney Sweeney revelation. I mean, she seems to have been in everything in 2025 slash 2026, but it took me a while, and I don't know why I didn't know that she was in it to begin with, but it took me a while to fully recognize it was her. I was like, I know her. Why do I know her? And it was only when she went blonde that I was like, oh, okay. So this is a female boxing movie it's a biopic, which I love, about the sort of first big name female boxer. She was the first female to be featured on a pay-per-view and played by Sydney Sweeney. And it was just such a great film. It was definitely a difficult watch in places, but I loved it, and that's why it's made it onto my top 10. Then my second on my list, it's not in any particular order, would be Strange Journey, which was the Rocky Horror documentary, which I was able to see in cinemas. It was only shown, I think, maybe, sorry, got a little adjust to me there, maybe in one showing or a couple of showings and a handful of cinemas. So I was able to go and watch this one. It was on a school night, a whole thing, but definitely benefited seeing it on the big screen. And I was lucky enough to have seen Rocky Horror in the cinema not too long before that, so it was really fresh in my mind. So if you get a chance to watch Strange Journey, the story of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, definitely watch it. It's really interesting, and had more interviews than you may have seen in sort of previous things about the film. Then one that's kind of been on other people's bottom 10 lists is Honey Don't, which apparently is kind of part of a series of films that are all kind of featuring the same people and the same kind of people, like the pulp novels of the 70s. I think it follows along those ones, but it was Margot Qualley and Aubrey Plaza, and it was just really fun. I laughed a lot, and yet it was still a bit gory and a bit violent, and there was you genuinely were interested in what was going on with the crimes. And I definitely did post a full review of that one, telling you exactly why I liked it so much, despite the fact that a lot of people didn't. Then another one which was very controversial. I loved this film, and I came out of it absolutely buzzing and sort of really excited for the next one in the series, but a lot of people said that it was just not even mid, not a good film, but I really, really liked it, and that's Thunderbolts. I just really enjoyed Thunderbolts. Again, a bit like the last one, it made me laugh in parts, and it made me kind of think in parts, and there was definitely some scary bits as well. And I think just where it fits into the story, I was like, oh, that's tied up some loose ends, or that's made some links here, or oh, now I'm looking forward to the next Avengers movie, which I am, and it's this year, and that's really exciting. But I really enjoyed it. And again, I made a full review of that one, so I'll try and link it up above. If not, it will be in the playlist anyway, and I will try and link all the videos in the description box as well. Then, now this one wasn't a film, but was classed as like event cinema, but I ended up seeing it in the cinema 3 or 4 times, as well as also seeing this on stage, and that is the pro cut of Six the Musical, which I'm like, when are we going to get it on streaming, or when is it going to even like come back to the cinemas? Like, I just want to see that cast again. Like, they were so good. It was such a joy to watch, and so fabulous. Again, I've got a full video talking about it, but it's just so fabulous the way you could see the costumes up close and the microphones up close, and kind of the different shots, like shots from behind and shots from the side and shots from different places in the theatre that you wouldn't normally be able to see if you were just sat in one seat in the vaudeville watching this show. Again, I've sat in multiple seats in the vaudeville watching this show, and I will be next weekend as well, but it was just so interesting getting to see it from multiple different angles, and it was such a great pro cut. Then, really switching gears, we have The Brutalist, which is, you know, a kind of long and not very joyful story about an architect, and was nominated for last year's Oscars. So this is like really going back, but this is films I watched in 2025 at the cinema, so this is where we're going. And I thought this film was great. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting, really engaging, and for it being a long film, it held my attention the whole time, which is really important to me when I'm kind of thinking about whether I enjoyed a film or not. And so The Brutalist, really enjoyed it, made it onto my top films of 2025. Then we have another one, which again was for the Oscars at the start of the year, so the 2025 Oscars, I suppose they would be, but made it into my top 10, and that was Honora. I just remember sitting there and like not knowing what this film was going to be about, and again, you know, it deals with some not very nice things. She doesn't have a very nice life, but you kind of go on this journey with her, and then I just remember absolutely like bursting into tears at the end of this film with this like massive emotional release, and everyone else in the cinema just getting up and leaving when the credits were on. I'm like, how is nobody else like sobbing right now? I just really connected with her as a character and with the film as a whole, and I really loved it. And so obviously it was going to make it onto my top 10 of 2025. And then, sort of switching gears again, we've got one that's purely about the nostalgia for me. And this one, you know, it's not a like great film by any stretch of the imagination, but I so enjoyed my viewing experience of it for the nostalgia. And that was Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy. Now, I read the book when it first came out, and I remember not being like thrilled with the book. I think just because we knew that certain characters weren't going to be involved, and certain decisions about Bridget and her life had been made that not all the readers were happy with Helen Fielding for. For Helen, I don't know. Anyway, but I just thought the way that they did the film, like I cried multiple times, which is going to be the same for the next film as well. But I cried multiple times, but it was just that pure nostalgia, and the kind of the friendships and the relationships, and Bridget as a whole person. I think it was her as the whole person that like really did it for me, really made me kind of just really connect with her. And again, this book was one that got me sort of back into reading, and it was my first real gateway book for reading adult fiction and adult rom-com fiction, and so it means so much to me, and so that's why this film meant a lot to me in 2025 as well. And then one that I sobbed the whole way through and thought was amazing and told everyone to watch, and again raved about in my review here on the channel, and that was I Swear. this is, I saw it was playing again in my cinema this week at some point. I'm like, I just don't know if I could go through that again. And also I'd be like ready every time Maxine Peake started to talk, I'd be ready to be like annoyed by her accent. At one point I thought I might have to leave just because of how bad her accent was, which would be a shame because like the actual film itself was amazing and so kind of inspirational and a beautiful story and just totally engaging, and she sort of really distracted from that, but overall I still loved the film. Like the fact that I got so cross with somebody's accent that I was ready to leave, and yet still the film made it in my top 10 shows you just how good the film was. And then finally, one that is nominated for an Oscar this year, we have Elio. Again, not everybody loved this film, but I just thought it was just nice. And it was like Pixar being Pixar and just being lovely. And I could, I've got a flight coming up in the Easter holidays. I could picture myself popping this one on and just sitting back and enjoying. It's one of those that I would definitely watch and rewatch. And, any children that I speak to that have seen this film, they're like, oh yeah, it was so cute. And that's exactly how I feel about it. It was just pure Pixar loveliness, and I liked the diversity that it had in it, and I liked Elio as a character, and I liked the place that he went to where everybody was accepted, and I just wish that we lived in a world like that. So then, switching gears onto my least favourite films of the year, we're going to start with, there's only one here that I actually walked out of, but we're going to start with one that I kind of only stayed in because I was passing some time. I think I definitely would have walked out of this one had I not been either I was waiting for Ollie to do something, or he was watching another film in another screen and I didn't, I chose this over going and sitting in that film with him, or he dropped me and was picking me up. I can't remember. Anyway, basically I was in a certain time bracket. It's not like I drove myself to the cinema to go and watch this. So this is Ella McKay, and I don't think I even reviewed this one. I don't think I did anyway. But it's just so forgettable, and yet on paper it's got Jamie Lee Curtis in it. It could have been, and Woody Harrelson, it could have been so much better. They could have done so much more with it, and it was just so boring and so meh that this was automatically going on my least favourite films of the year. And then we have one that I only continued to stay through just to see how bad it got or whether it would get better. And as a Disney fan, I felt like I owed it to people to sit through this and watch this so that I could have a full, well-rounded opinion on it. I watched it all the way to the end, and that is Snow White. And again, this is probably on a lot of people's least favourite films of the year because it did absolutely bomb at the box office. And I think it was always set up to fail because there was so much controversy around its filming and its casting and its reimagining and all the people who were tied to it and then untethered from it. It was just so bad. I haven't even brought myself to even give it the opportunity of a rewatch. I just wouldn't. And then we've got a kind of 2-for-1 here because one of these films came out this year, but I ended up having to watch the first one in order to see the second one, and that is Spinal Tap 1 and 2. So Spinal Tap 2 came out this year, but I had never actually seen Spinal Tap 1. I'd seen clips of it and quoted things from it and turning it up to 11 and all of that. And yeah, I'd never seen it, so I went to see it and then went to see 2. Can't remember if we saw them on the same day, but they were pretty close together when we saw them, and so you got a 2-for-1 on that one. It was just so bad. It was just absolutely ridiculous. Again, I can't remember if I think I did post a video of this one, so I'll try and link it if I can. If not, it'll be in the description box. But yeah, Spinal Tap 2, no. Again, it was Bank Holiday Monday and I was seeing 4 films back to back, and it was film 3 of 4, and so that's probably the reason I didn't walk out of it, to be honest. That's probably it. Okay, so I'm going to justify why I didn't walk out of the next one now. Mission Impossible whatever it's called, Final Reckoning, something like that. Now, I am not a Mission Impossible fan, and so really on paper I was never going to like this film, but I'm like, big budget, I didn't watch Marvel films for a long time, and then I watched my first one and I was like, oh yeah, big budget, like you can see the difference in it, you can see what that budget does. So, Tom Cruise, big budget, gonna be good. No, oh my God, it was so bad. But even the fact that this film had such a big budget, how could they not get the CGI right? Like the CGI just looked ridiculous. Like parts of him being on a plane looked like when I would go to the National Museum of Film and Photography in Bradford when I was like 8 and sit on the flying carpet and look like I was flying. Like I felt like the CGI was that bad in this film. And it was just the storyline. It was just like, let's put this guy in another situation where he has to do something that seems slightly pointless, but he might die, so it'll be thrilling, or he might have to have a fight with someone underwater and there might be a shark there, who knows. It was like, oh, let's put him underwater, let's put him in the sky, let's put him in a tunnel, let's put him in an iron lung, I don't know. It was, yes, so the only reason that I didn't walk out of this one was because I'd taken my mum and dad to see it, and my mum is a big Mission Impossible fan, and so we all 4 of us went to see it, and 3 out of the 4 of us really disliked it. But yes. Then we have the Phoenician Scheme. Now, I actually had to try and remember whether I walked out of this one because I couldn't remember. But it's really bad because I saw this one with another one that I'm about to mention as well. And I saw them in fairly close succession, I think even in the same cinema. And so I couldn't remember which one I had walked out of. So I think I did see this one right the way through to the end, but I'm never really a fan of Benicio del Toro in films, with the exception of One Battle After Another, apparently. I thought it was awful in Star Wars, and I've seen him in other Wes Anderson films and just been like, and I just thought he just really annoyed me in this one. I didn't care about him and I didn't care about the other characters. Michael Cera was pretty good in this one, but yeah, definitely just wasn't a fan of this one. And then we have Nosferatu, which is the one that I have walked out of, which is why you won't have a review here, because I've got in trouble before for reviewing a film that I walked out of. So we're not doing it again. I think it's good for you to know which films I did choose to walk out of, though, very much so. This and Aquaman. And what was it? Abominable. That was the other one I walked out of, that I don't think I did a full review of, but I mentioned as part of a cluster of films. But yes, Nosferatu, just really wanted to like it. The original is such a classic and such a quoted and shown off film that I thought that this one was going to be good too. It just wasn't. And then we have The Naked Gun, which again, when I posted the review of it, people did not like in the comments that the things that I said about it, I wasn't really the target audience for this film or what have you. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's just silly. It seems like a waste of money, I'm like, they put all this money into making this film and it was just silly. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Obviously, from my full review, it was always going to make it onto this, my least favourite films of the year. And then finally, we have one where I did a kind of Marvel versus DC weekend. That's all I'm saying with this hand movement, by the way. Marvel versus DC weekend. And I think this one is skewed by the fact that I am not a DC fan. I'm just really not. I keep trying other ones and, aforementioned Aquaman. And it's it's just not for me, with the exception of the Harley Quinn movies. Like, I like those for some reason. It says an awful lot. But yeah, I love Thunderbolts and absolutely hated Superman. I just didn't like it. And again, my review got quite a lot of views and comments, and so I know this is not going to be a popular opinion, but no, it was not for me. I may keep trying because, again, I know there's big budgets that go into these things, and I know that I know that it comes from a background of good storytelling because they're massively successful comics. But yeah, Superman, I was like, oh, maybe, because I, loved the New Adventures of Superman with Dean Cain, and I like the Christopher Reeve films. However, this one, no, just not for me. Just not for me. So yeah, there you have it, my favourite and least favourite films of 2025. Please let me know yours in the comments. Do we share any of the same opinions, or do you hate some of the ones I've put in my top 10, or vice versa? And as always, if there is a particular film that you would like me to go and watch that's currently on the cinemas, please do let me know in comments as well. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell, because if it's not already up, my Oscar nomination predictions for winners is going to be up very soon. I'm just finishing off watching the last couple of films in the Best Picture category to make sure I've at least seen all of those. And then that one will be winging your way probably on Oscar Sunday. That's when I tend to post it, so you don't want to miss out on that one. As always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you with my next video.